What's up, everybody? Got another knife for you guys today. Something a little different than all the discontinued Kershaws I've been doing. But here I got a discontinued Paragon ATKO 10T. This is a tactical automatic out the front knife, or OTF. It's a pretty cool blade, pretty large as well. So we'll do some quick comparisons. And for this comparison, I wanted to use all Tano blades since it's fitting. So here it is against the Kershaw tone. And against the Benchmade Griptilian. This is the large. And against the another large knife, the Kershaw Spoiler. So there you can see the ATKO is, like I said, a pretty large knife, but for an OTF tactical knife, I think it's fitting. And we'll do some quick specs. So the overall knife length is 9 inches, the blade length is 3.6 inches, while the blade's thickness here at the flats are 0.12 inches. Handle comes in at 5.4 inches, while the handle thickness is 0.52 inches, and for the weight comes in at 4.2 ounces, so that's pretty good. The handle material is made out of T6 aluminum, and the blade steel is ATS 34, which you can see here on the blade. That is a Japanese version of 154 cm. Since this knife is about 20 years old, that's what the knife makers at the time were using to replace 154 cm. The Rockwell on this comes in at about 60-61, and again, this is a single action OTF, and it's a push button automatic. The blade style is a clip point Tonto, and it's flat ground, but more surprisingly, this is actually a chisel ground knife. So you can see how the right side is completely flat, and this side's got that, that chisel edge. So very interesting for an EDC knife, and for an OTF, you only really come across that mostly on kitchen knives. As far as carry goes, this is a tip down right side only, and it has a safety switch and the plunge lock to keep the blade in place until you actuate it. And you can also use the safety switch to lock the blade in place, and it works as a temporary fixed blade. So that's pretty cool. So as far as ergos go, this knife is pretty plain, pretty straightforward, but it's still relatively comfortable ergonomically. All these corners are all rounded and chamfered, so nothing sharp. The flared end on this side gives you a functional guard and a ramp, and when the blade is extended, the side tab on the tang gives you kind of a choil area or finger groove, so that you have that stability while handling the knife. And if you're going to use a knife in a more choked back position, this flared end on the back helps to give you a backstop for your hand to rest up against. Or if you decide to use the knife in a reverse grip, same thing, so you don't have to worry about it sliding off. But I don't think I'd really use this knife in a reverse grip due to the fact that it's a chisel blade, chisel ground. But this knife is very easy to use. All you do is disengage the mechanism, hit the plunge push button, the knife comes flying out. It's got a really strong spring and kick to it, which I really like. And the way this blade stays housed in there on the track in here is by this cutout here, allowing it to kind of pull back, and then the knife actually has this cutout hole where the plunge lock will come back up and rest into the hole to keep it locked in place. And then again, for that additional safety, you'll actuate the switch so that it stays closed, which is good. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. And again, with that jimping, it helps to pull the knife back while retracting it. You just hold the push button and pull that back all the way until it locks into place. So again, pretty easy. The blade is probably the most interesting part of this knife. Again, the clip point Tonto is just really cool, and then the fact that it's chisel ground is unique. And I just kind of think it's cool how it's got that cut out, so the plunge lock can lock it in place. It's different. And some pros I have with this knife are just the fact that it's, you know, an OTF. OTFs are pretty cool knives. It being a single action tactical knife is really cool as well. And that Tano style blade with the chisel grind, very unique, especially on an OTF. There are other versions of the blade for this knife, and even though this is discontinued, Paragon does make an updated version of this knife. It's called the Para X, and the only real difference to it is the fact that they updated the steel to S30V. But there's plenty of different blade styles if you're interested in this knife. Another pro to the knife is the fact that it has that safety switch. So that's very important when it comes to an OTF knife, especially if it's a push button style. And again, that retracting blade serving as that finger groove as its secondary function is a bonus. And the milling on here, even though it's simple, it's actually still pretty functional. It helps to give your fingers kind of somewhere to grip on. And another thing I really liked is this blade finish. It's a black satin finish, so pretty cool. Some cons that I had with this blade or knife is the fact that this blade is actually blunted at the tip. I don't know why, or if that was intentional, but yeah, the grind doesn't come all the way up to give that point a sharp end. You would think on a tactical knife, and especially on a Tonto style, that it would have that nice sharp tip, but it doesn't, so I find that weird, and that's why I consider it a con. And another con, even though I liked the chiseled grind, it's not always the most practical or useful for EDC. So, you know, that's kind of something to note. And since this edge is really thick, it's not going to be the best when it comes to cutting compared to other knives. Another con I have is just kind of with the knife in general is the fact that it's just really simple looking. There's really not much to it, you know, very plain handle. Everything is, again, just kind of straightforward design, really simplistic. And OTFs are prone to blade play due to their design and mechanism. You know, because of the tolerances, you can't really, you know, tighten this part up to get the blade to stay nice and solid where there's not going to be any play. There's going to be a little bit of movement side to side, up and down on generally most OTFs. And you can kind of hear that clicky noise as I move it. So that is something to note when it comes to an OTF. And another con that I would have to note, even though it doesn't bother me, is the fact that using a single action OTF takes a little bit longer to use, since it does require you to retract the blade every single time you fire it out. And most people are not really going to know how to use this if they're not knife people. So I really wouldn't hand this to a non-knife person, just because they might end up pushing that button out of surprise and either hurting themselves or scaring themselves. So I think something you do need to think of, note as well. And another thing is, this knife is really big. The handle and the blade are just really large. So because of that size, it is going to make this knife a little harder to EDC. Not going to be quite as easy. And then, even though I said that this safety switch is a positive, I still think there's some concern to be had for the potential for the knife to misfire in your pocket. You know, something could happen and this can disengage and that can push. The push button is almost flush. It sticks up about 1 to 2 thousandths, but you know, still something to note, think about. And going back to the limitations when it comes to tolerances and just kind of the overall build quality of OTFs, they can develop a scratch line. So on the back of this knife, you can see here how it is gotten scratched up over time. And on the front of it, it's got this little spot as well, and then right here. So, you know, it kind of rubs in the inside as it comes firing out, and just after a while, it'll develop that. But even though these things can happen, I still think single action OTFs are pretty cool. And despite the simplicity of the Paragon ATKO and the added step of having to retract it due to it being single action, I still think it's a really cool knife, and it definitely provides a lot of enjoyment from its fidget factor. I feel like every time I fire and retract the OTF, and especially because it's got that strong spring, it just kind of makes me feel lethal. But yeah, it's a pretty solid knife, pretty solid OTF, and it's got a nice fit and finish, while the knife still has a good quality. So if you are looking for an OTF and you want a single action or you don't mind it, I would definitely suggest checking out the Paragon brand. There's definitely plenty of options for you, and again, they're good quality and well priced. I think this is a good alternative if the Microtech or Heretic or even some of the expensive Benchmade OTFs are a little out of your price range. Paragon can still get that job done, and it's still a good knife. So I would recommend it if you could own automatic knives in your state. I'm lucky to be in a state where we have some of the most relaxed knife laws, so that's something nice for me. But yeah, definitely check out your knife laws and do your research before buying knives, especially OTFs, because you are going to want to get something that you're going to be satisfied with. But that's all I got for today. Definitely stay tuned. So again, please like and subscribe, because I'm gonna get a really cool automatic knife soon. It's coming in the mail, and I look forward to doing my review on that one. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and have yourselves a good one, guys. Later.